my channel, everyone. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. I am starting a new series. It is called Drugstore Deal or Dump, where I am reviewing different products from the drugstore and just giving you my thoughts, my first impressions, and then I'm doing a wear test on it and then giving you my final verdict. If you guys are not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel because these videos go up every week. And maybe I'll make your drugstore trip a little bit more fun the next time you go there. So this week's Drugstore Deal or Dump is gonna be a little different. I'm not just taking one product, I'm taking a ton of concealers from the drugstore and testing them out. There are two that I added at the end that I don't have videos of me actually applying them and doing the wear test. However, I have interacted with them for, I think, 1 to 2 weeks each. And so I just wanted to add those in because this video otherwise would have been very, very long. I started this over 6 weeks ago and I just kept adding concealers and concealers and adding and adding and adding. And then I was like, girl, just stop and give opinions. One thing I want to point out is that I did select concealers based off of formulas too. Like I wanted to make sure that I was covering the range of light, medium, and full. Even though generally speaking, I would always opt for more of a medium to full coverage concealer, I wanted to make sure that if maybe some girls out there like light coverage, I wanted to really just check the box on all of that. And I'm also paying attention to shade range. You'll see me throughout the video kind of pop in and talk about how many shades this brand provides for concealers. Because I'll tell you, I was a little disappointed that there were maybe 1 or 2 brands that I was the darkest shade or the second to darkest shade, which is really disheartening because I should be in the medium family. I should not be the darkest shade available. But with that said, there were some brands also, if you look them up online, that say we started with 5 shades, we're happy to share that we've now expanded to 6 shades more or 12 shades more. So that's really promising. I also hope that this is a great video for you ladies that are my skin tone that sometimes have a really hard time matching themselves at the drugstore because 1, you can't test it out, and 2, you know, I don't think a lot of brands have really perfected the nuances of skin tone yet. I am not the true Asian skin tone color. I am not Latina. I am not African American, and I feel like I sometimes have to mix and match colors to really get my perfect shade. So I think brands are trying to be more inclusive and I think they're getting there, but I think we still have a ways to go. Hopefully this takes out a little bit of the guesswork for you ladies that have a similar skin tone to me or think you can use me as a basis on what shade you should go with. Now with that said, I'm going to first answer a very commonly asked question, which is how the heck do you even match yourself to drugstore concealers when you can't test them out? So obviously if you can test them out, that's great. Even when I can test them out, I don't always put it on under my eye. 1, because I'm usually either not wearing any makeup and I don't like wearing concealer by itself. And then 2, I don't want to put it on over concealer I'm already wearing. So I tend to always mark it on the inside of my palm just because foundation I would use on like my jawline to my neck. But with concealer, I am trying to go about a shade or 2 lighter. For me personally, 1 to 2 shades lighter than my foundation is exactly where I want to be. I don't like going any lighter than that. Mainly because I tend to get flashback and that is one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't like having flashback, especially like at nighttime. If you take a picture and there's flash and you see that little reverse raccoon eye, meaning you see the really lightness, the light color right there, I don't like that. So I tend to go again 1 to 2 shades lighter. If I'm testing it on my inner palm, I'll usually test 3 colors if I can. And if I put one on and I dot it and I see that it's pink, it's usually out. I don't like pink undertones for my under eyes. I don't need it. And that for me is more of like a corrector. Then the second, if I dot it and it's yellow, then that's usually gonna be something that works for me, but not too yellow. And then third, if it has a little bit of peach and yellow to it, that's probably my perfect shade because that is actually like a corrector and a concealer in one. Those don't come around often. I usually have to wear a corrector separately if I want to, which correctors is a whole different world. I do have a video on that too, which I'll link below. I'm more attracted to colors that are warm or golden and have that yellow undertone. So names are not always the best way to judge which color is good for you, but I tend to always go towards like the warms or golden medium. Medium is generally where I stick. And then if it says warm, golden, like that for me is going to be a good basis as to where I should start or look. However, with that said, Sometimes it says warm nude and it's the darkest color and it happens to be what works for you, or in my case, it worked for me. So don't always go by that. Plus nude. Nude is not a one size fits all. Nude for who, right? Be cognizant of that. Lastly, I think the biggest thing is if I can't see, like if I can't test it out in person, I will look at the bottle and I'll kind of put it against my skin. Just kind of pick the 2 shades that I think will work, because my biggest pet peeve is when I go and I pick a shade that I think I'm gonna like and I go home and I try it and it doesn't work. I'd rather pick 2 and pick one that's maybe a little lighter, a little darker, and then be like, okay, one works, and then return the other one later. Even though it's a little bit of a headache to do, it's worth it, especially because these price points are great. I'm starting at $5 and I don't think I go above $15, which you can't beat. And honestly, some of these drugstore formulas are fantastic and very competitive with the higher end brands out there. So with that said, we're gonna get started. All right, so this is day 1 and we are going to start with a K-beauty brand that I was really excited to find. It was like a random CVS trip I made. This is the K-beauty brand Joah. I don't know if I'm saying it right. It's Joah. It's called Truly Yours Dark Circle Concealer. I love, first of all, how substantial it is. Like if you wanna just compare it to some other concealers, like let me just get out my Tarte Shape Tape. Do you see, like, obviously this is more like the twisty part, but like, I don't know, it's just very substantial. You don't usually see concealers of this size. This is at the point where I would put my concealer on. A lot of people ask about primers and whatnot. Usually I don't do any primers for my under eyes. I will use an eye cream beforehand, and today I'm using the Nuria eye cream, which I will link below as well. It's one that I'm testing out right now, and it has been doing really well as far as like sitting, my makeup sitting on top of it. And I'm just going to apply, I like to start in the inner corners, and then I'm gonna work up just a little bit, so right there. I do like this kind of applicator. I feel like it works so well in that it's so easy to use and you don't have to feel like you're using so much product, like not too much product is being dispensed. This color matches me pretty darn well. It's like exactly the color I would want, like not too light. I feel like this is a great concealer when you're on the go and you need coverage, but not necessarily like an excess amount. This is not like a high coverage concealer, but it does a really nice job of sitting on your skin and just blending in really beautifully. Okay, the other thing I really like about this, and I can't explain it, I have to look at the ingredients and see what's in it, but it has a nice tingly feeling to it. The last thing I would do to make sure my concealer is set is set it with some loose powder. So I'm gonna go in with the Maybelline Fit Me loose powder, and this is in Fair Light, one of my favorite drugstore options. And I'm gonna be using the same powder that I'm using today for all of the concealers. I would normally always set my concealer, so I feel like if I were to test this without setting it, it wouldn't be fair to what I normally do, because I always set it, even if I'm using my Shape Tape or my Jouer, which is another favorite of mine. So I'm just taking a little bit of the Maybelline Fit Me, and I'm taking the e.l.f. highlighting brush, which is one of my all-time favorite brushes to really set my concealer. So I've coated the brush nicely, you can see that. And all I'm going to do is press that into the under eye area. Press it and then push it in and out, if that makes sense. So I'm pushing in and out. And instead of just swiping, what this really does is it helps push that powder in and help set the concealer versus dragging it anywhere else. And then anything left over, I'll put it like pretty much on the T-zone, wherever I might have any oiliness. Right there. But do you see that? It just helps bring that together and hide any concavity, thing like that. And same thing on this side. Push in. So push and out. Push in and out. That's it. And then I like to drag on the sides of my nose too, and this kind of helps cinch that just a little bit. I'm gonna go finish getting ready and I will come back with some initial thoughts on this. I love that it matches really well. I love the applicator. The thing is that it is not super full coverage. So you can add to this though. So I put one layer on and then I put another layer on just at the inner corners where it tends to get a little bit darker, and I'm really impressed. I really like this. I don't know, I don't have any more I can't say anything else about this other than I really, really like this first impressions. Like for the price point and everything, it's unbelievable. So you are going to see me pop in here a few times because there are some points that I want to make that I don't actually get to while I do the wear test. For instance, the thing that is really unsettling to me is that there's only 5 shades, at least, that were available at CVS. And online too, I went online, there were only 5 shades. However, I DM'd the brand, they said that they were expanding, which makes me feel hopeful because this is a big deal for me. This is a deal. I like this concealer a lot. It is probably one of my favorites out of the bunch. So I really like this. So I do hope that they expand in the shade range for this because it's good stuff. Today's test is going to be with Maybelline Superstay Better Skin Concealer. I remember this concealer from when it first came out. I was actually a big fan of it. The applicator is like your typical applicator. It's nothing fancy. I am loving the larger doe foots these days, like the ones that Tarte Shape Tape and even Born This Way come with. This color is a little bit more yellow, which I like for me personally because I don't like being too light in my concealer. And I would say this is definitely a lighter coverage to medium, but it's nice and creamy. And even when it dries down, it doesn't get too matte. It just has like that nice luminosity to it. I'm just gonna put a little bit more on the inside parts. I really like the finish of this, just based off of my experience with this concealer in the past. It's one that I really, really do like and feel like it sticks really nicely without moving, but we shall see throughout the day. All right guys, so it is just about 7:30 or 8 o'clock. You guys can probably hear there's a movie night going on. It's Friday, so it's what we do, pizza and a movie. And I'm going to fill you in. I don't know how, but I actually feel like the concealer looks even better than it did when I checked in the morning. I'm really happy with this considering it was 9:30 when I put it on. It's 8 o'clock right now. This actually is how I expect my concealer to be all day. I haven't touched it at all. And it pretty much stayed the way it was. I do see that like right here, which is probably hard for you guys to tell, but I do see like where it was settled in the lines, but it didn't move from there. So honestly, I think it's just about a little bit of trial and error. Like if I next time when I set it, I just need to put a little less right here and then just blend it out even more and pat it in. I think it'd be good to go. This concealer, I'm gonna say yes. For the price point again, drugstore, it's really great. Again, light to medium, or actually it's more on the light side, and then if you wanna build it up, it can be medium. Not a full coverage concealer, but really good. So there you go. I'm back. I look kind of pale and dead right now. This is what happens when you just put your foundation on and no concealer or contour, at least in my case. So anyways, I'm going back in with a new concealer for today. This is day 3. I'm gonna just go in with the Instant Age Rewind from Maybelline. I'm using the shade Sand Sable. I know this is not like a new one on the market. It's been around forever. I feel like it is a cult favorite. But for some reason, I just have not had a good track record with this one. I was using shade medium before, and now I'm using Sable, which I feel like is more up my alley. Like it has a little bit more of that yellow in it, which is nice. Whereas before, I feel like the medium was just, I don't know, it made me look really sallow, you know? It just wasn't a pretty color. That K-Beauty one that I was using previously that I tried first, the sponge just had, I don't know, you can see right here, this sponge is just more firm, and I like that. Like this is too, like, you know, it's too soft, which is probably nice around that delicate eye area. It just, I don't know, I don't like the texture of it that much. But anyways, I'm just gonna go in and blend that out. And as I did previously, I'm using the same technique and the same method for all of them. I think I also am using the same exact foundation for each one, which is the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue. I'm using all of the same stuff just so that way I feel like I get like a good sense of how everything works. I like the way it goes on. Again, I already spoke about the applicator. It's not my favorite. I feel like it also gets a little messy in here. You know what I mean? And over time, it just seems like it oxidizes on its own. So that's the only thing I feel like the life of this concealer doesn't last as long. This one has more medium coverage. If I was going out at night, would I use this one? Probably not, just because I feel like I like to have more of that intense coverage right here where I see concavity. So we will see how this goes. It has been at least 5 hours since I've had the concealer on, and it is holding up pretty nicely. I really have not had to touch my under eyes at all. And there's no separating. If anything, it's just more so nothing. Actually, I can't really say anything negative about this so far. Pretty impressed. This is big for me because I feel like last week I got my makeup done randomly. I usually never let anybody touch my face. If you guys know me, you know that. It's a big reason why I went into doing hair and makeup in the first place, because I just feel like people do not understand my features and they just always make me look so crazy. And so anyways, long story short, this guy had put on such a heavy amount of concealer, and literally throughout the day I just noticed like every 10 minutes when I would look in the mirror, the concealer was just dropping and dropping and dropping, and it literally aged me at least 20 years. And just made me think about how there's such a, you know, there is such a benefit to having not only good concealer, but also a technique that works. So the technique that I've been showing you guys throughout this entire process is pretty much how I always apply. And I always think in general, I like my base to be a little thinner and lighter, and then the concealer a little bit more of a high coverage concealer. But with that said, you can easily layer concealers to getting the consistency that you want it. So just keep that in mind, because I think it's really important when you guys are shopping for concealers as well. You know, as far as most of the day goes, it did a good job. But it's not that it's creasing or anything, it's just worn off. So the lasting power of it is not there. It has been a very long day too. Just feels like I definitely look a little tired. So that's my overall consensus, is that it's good for, you know, 5-6 hours, and then you're gonna need to reapply. So there you have that. This is day 4. It's a Saturday, it's gloomy outside, not feeling all that into putting on makeup right now, but we have to go somewhere. So today I'm going to try the NYX HD Studio Photogenic Studio Concealer. Heard a lot of good things about this one. I enjoy this because it has like that peach neutralizer in it, which is fantastic for correcting. Kind of went in heavy there just because, I don't know, I really liked the peachiness of it. So I love that it kind of has that corrector color to it. It is a little thin. All the concealers I've used thus far do not have any of that peachiness to it. It's thinner than I expected. For some reason I thought, because it's like HD, I thought it was going to be a little bit thicker, which I don't mind. Yeah, Mimi. Cut the little one here too. Yes, my love. Mommy! Yeah. Initial thoughts are that I like it kind of more as a corrector. It reminds me of like the NYX HD Dark Circle Corrector that comes in like the pot. So I like that. I just wish that it feels still a little pink to me. So I don't know, we'll see how it wears throughout the day. Makeup? And I will check in. You cannot put on makeup, little lady. You wanna say hi?
Yeah. Hi!
Okay, so it feels lighter in consistency and more than the other 3. I don't know if you guys can tell, but like for me, I already see it settling into fine lines, which I feel like that is like the biggest thing. If it's already 5 minutes in and it's doing that, I'm not a big fan. But let's just see how it wears throughout the day. We're gonna go to a birthday party right now. It's about 9:50 in the morning. I'll check back in probably around 2, and then we'll go from there. It has been a few hours. It is now about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm not in love with this concealer. I can definitely see some settling in here. So it is cracking a little bit. I just feel like it's worn off, and this never really happens to me, but I've noticed that the powder is actually settling in there too. And I'm using the same exact powder that I've used before, but I would absolutely need to reapply right now if I was going somewhere. I'm not in love with it. So far, this is kind of like so-so for me. It is around 10 o'clock in the evening, and I don't like this one. I don't like this one. It just didn't do what I feel like it should do, or what a concealer that I would want to last all day should do. It's starting to crack. You can just see like some of the bags under my eyes and the discoloration, whereas like normally, I mean, I know it's 10 o'clock and I put this on about 12 hours ago, especially because NYX is one of my faves in terms of like drugstores, so I was expecting more. You guys are looking for a corrector, like a liquid corrector, this, I really like the peachiness on this, so, you know, there's that. But as far as the coverage compared to the others that I've seen, I am not that impressed. So I'm gonna have to give this one a no. I think it's the first one out of this series that I'm saying no to. Today I'm gonna try the L'Oreal True Match Super Blendable Multi-Use Concealer Corrector. And this is in the color Memes. Do you know? Oh, W34 Light. So this is what it looks like.
Why did you say me?
This applicator is very flimsy, which I'm not like the biggest fan of, but I do love how tiny it is, so it's very precise. I can get in on the edges like there if you want to do like, you know, precision on the edges, if you're doing like a nice cat eye or something. Very loud today. The other thing I'm going to test out is the e.l.f. concealer, the 16 hour. I'm gonna try it for the contour. This is Deep Cinnamon. It's a matte blend, which I've heard sets really quickly, so we're going to blend out the concealer first. And okay, so right off the bat, I do like the way this blends out way better than the NYX one. Blend out the contour.
This is for
okay, so that is intense. Definitely just use a little bit. I think I took too much of the concealer, but oh my gosh, it is very full coverage. So if you are using this, a little goes a long way. I really like this concealer actually. I initially did not like the little tiny tip because I thought it was too flimsy, but I like the precision it gives, and it sits really nicely with the setting powder over it. The other thing I love is this e.l.f. concealer. As far as contour goes, I really like it. I really, really wish I had my color for my under eyes. I did like this better than the NYX one. Just, you know, being really nitpicky about it, I will say that the Maybelline Better Skin and the Joah is still my fave. It's still the one to beat. The e.l.f. That I used for contouring, I really did like that. Like from the initial time of using it. I mean, I have touched my face a ton, and like, you know, the kids have been all over me and everything. So I really did like the way it kind of contoured my face and everything like that. A little of that concealer goes a long way. I mean, I was blown away at how little I put and like how much pigment there was in product. So, you know, for the price point, it's insanely good. All right, guys, today is a new day. I'm trying out another concealer, and this one I picked up myself from Ulta after I had accumulated like 6 or 7. I just was like, you know what, I want to keep going with this. So I just want this to be a really comprehensive video. I'm going in with Flower Beauty Light Illusions. I think, you know, very reminiscent of NARS in terms of the packaging and even the applicator. It's a little thinner, it's slanted. I do really like this version of the foundation, the Light Illusions High Coverage Foundation. I just think it's amazing. It's a fantastic drugstore alternative to higher end ones. So I was really excited to try this. This is in light medium, and it is a full coverage concealer. That is what it says. So let's put it on. And I immediately love this color. I'm gonna go in kind of with a heavy hand a little bit just on that front part, just because I feel like I need it. And then I like to, I've been doing this lately where I get the front and I just get the end, just so, because I don't need to do like everything, but I just like to cover like any red spots I have right there. And this color is beautiful. I love that it has the yellow in it, but it's not too, I don't know, it's not too light. It's just good. It's a little thinner than Tarte, so if you're looking for something like Tarte, I feel like if you layer this just a little bit, it might give you that, but it's a little light. It's not as thick as the Tarte, which is actually great because some people find the Tarte a little too drying, and this is really hydrating. Like, I feel like I can let this sit for a second on my skin and it's not gonna dry up immediately. Final thoughts on the Flower Beauty concealer. I like it a lot. It's one of my favorites so far. I think I keep talking about the Joah one, the Kurt K Beauty one, the Joah. This one is probably right up there. I like my concealer a little bit more full coverage, so This one is really good. I'm going to use the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define. This was another puppy that I found at Ulta and was really excited about. It has the applicator that I love, which is the thick doe foot. This one definitely has more of that peachy look to it. It feels a little thin going on. So that is, you know, I thought it was gonna be a little bit more high coverage. It's not, it's a little bit thinner. Like it's definitely not as thick as Tarte, it's thick. This concealer, I feel like it looks like it's high coverage at first, but it slips. So I'm already noticing, like if I just go like this, like usually when I put my concealer on and I set it, and then if I have mascara on underneath, I can go like this, and the concealer doesn't move, but it's moving. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna check back in, but initial thoughts are it does slip a little bit, which I'm not about. Please don't judge the way I look. I feel like not well. I feel not well, and I had to go to a bunch of school stuff today, so just checking in. The concealer didn't slip that much, but I will say I just don't like it. Like, it didn't give me as much coverage as I would have hoped. Like, I feel like if I go like this, which obviously you shouldn't do anyways, like there's some that comes off. It's okay. I think actually it's more that my expectation was that it was gonna be full coverage. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's okay. That's what I'm gonna say. It's like okay. So there you go. All right, friends, today I'm back. My voice is a little gone because I'm a little sick, but I am trying out the Lasting Finish 25-Hour Breathable Concealer. It is lightweight medium coverage. This is in the shade 200 Light. This is kind of the one I wasn't too excited about. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because the packaging wasn't that exciting, you know? In a lot of these concealers, as you see, it has this tip again, that cushiony tip. This one is probably in between the L'Oreal and the K-Beauty brand one that I have. It's a squeeze tip. Went with light just because medium definitely looked too dark. It's probably one of the only reasons. I actually used to really like Rimmel foundations. They have this 24-hour one that I really like, but as far as their concealers go, I think this was probably one of the reasons I wasn't drawn to them in the past, is because I felt like the colors, the range of colors was so limiting. Let's try to blend this out and see how that goes. Okay, so it is definitely very light coverage. And the color is probably a little more light than I would like it to be. First impression just going on, I'm not too into it. I feel like it still makes me look like I have like, I don't know, didn't really do anything to my under eye circles. I'll just tell you right off the bat, with the feeling and the way it went on when I was putting on, it's just not my favorite one. I don't know why, but I feel like I can really tell when I have a concealer, as far as like the texture and the formula go, it's just not on my alley. The color I think is okay. It's again not as warm as I would like it to be for my concealer. It was just a little too light. But now that I've set it and stuff, it seems like it's okay. It's not as high coverage as I would like it to be. I went ahead and actually decided to use the e.l.f. concealer as a little bit of foundation. I'm gonna try doing a full no foundation look and just use the concealer and see how that goes. I don't know if that's a good idea because it is matte and I have more dry skin, but I did prep my face with a little bit more moisture, so let's see how it goes. It is pretty drying, you guys. Like it's a little thicker. I don't know why I thought it could work as a base. I just wanted to try it out, but it is a little thicker, so I went ahead and took my NARS Super Radiant Booster. It's just like a little bit of a liquid highlighter or a cream highlighter, and I really like the concealer. I wish I would have tried this without putting it everywhere. First impression, I really like the way it blends out, even though it's matte. It's not too drying, but I will say if you have more dry skin, or if you are concerned about your under eyes, you know, showing wrinkles and kind of getting more crepey down there, then I would recommend a really nice moisturizer eye cream beforehand. But as long as you're nicely hydrated, this should go on really well. And also I used it as an overall, you know, foundation situation. I wouldn't recommend that necessarily, because I don't know why I did that anyways, because normally I like my base to be very lightweight and then I like my concealer to be stronger. The applicator is 100% like up my alley. I love that it's a thick doe foot. The color, the swatch was brilliant. My first impression of this is for $5, 100% yes, yes, yes. Especially if you are a Tarte Shape Tape girl, this is gonna be your jam. It's a hot, hot day, and you guys, this e.l.f. concealer like stayed put. I will tell you, like, I mean, didn't budge. And you know, like when people say concealer like that doesn't crease, I think there are methods that you yourself can over time figure out what really works for your skin, but really there's no such thing as like no creasing whatsoever, although this did a pretty darn good job. It is very matte, so I did use it, remember, all over my face, and honestly, I wish I didn't, because for my skin being more on the dry side, it settles really quickly. So that's just one thing. If you're the type of gal that likes to, like, you know, take her time, put the concealer on, put other stuff, and then blend that out, you're gonna have to work pretty quickly with it. But with that said, once it's on, it stays on. So I am thoroughly impressed with this. There are two concealers that I did not actually do a wear test with, but I wanted to go over. One is the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear, and this is in the shade Cashew. I had really high hopes for this one because I love the doe foot. It again is that nice thick doe foot applicator that's very similar to the Tarte Shape Tape and some of the higher end ones that we see. I think the e.l.f. Camo has that exact same one too. This color was pretty spot on for me. However, the wear of this was not good. I felt like it lost its luster throughout the day, whereas the e.l.f. Camo concealer just stayed put. This moved around a little bit, and so I thought maybe it was my mascara, and so I tried it again the next day, and I'm not in love with it. For a full coverage concealer, I expected more out of this, so this one is a dump for me, unfortunately. And then lastly, another one that I used that I was really hopeful for was the Rimmel Stay Matte. Now Rimmel, again, is a brand that I don't always use because of the shade range. This particular concealer came with quite a few options. The range was pretty large, and so I was hopeful about it. The color matching was a little harder for me. It's like buff didn't work, warm ivory didn't work. There were a few I kind of had to play around with. This is more on the light to medium coverage, and I just wasn't in love with it. I thought that there were some other ones that did really, really well. So overall, this one is also a dump for me. I hope that this little rundown, run through, wear test of all these concealers was really helpful for you ladies. I really enjoy doing the series, so if you guys have any suggestions on what you want to see, please do list them below. Be sure to follow me on Instagram too, because I talk a lot about the products I test on my YouTube channel in my stories there. So I'll link all that below. I will link all of these concealers below as well, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.